It takes great logic and critical analytical abilities in order to assess the actions of another group of individuals and conceive an argument as to why what they believe is correct simply is not. An even greater ability is being able to explain this conclusion to all people of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs and bring them to your same conclusion. But true strength is not shown through either one of these talents. The truest strength of knowledge comes from being able to find fault in a set of principles with which you identify. Strength comes from the ability to look within oneself and notice that even though you would perish to defend your set of beliefs, your set of conservative beliefs, they are in fact imperfect. The Republican Party has lost its grasp on the popular vote. Americans, primarily young Americans, such as myself, have been convinced that being a Democrat is not just better, but more modern, more accepting, and more politically correct. The Republicans have been demonized. We are considered outdated, racists, sexists, bigots. During the Obama administration, as some of you might recall, we were even referred to as obstructionists. And after seeing how the Democrats have acted thus far during President Trump's term in office, it is almost comical to think that we were coined as the obstructionists. But I digress. What is becoming ever more apparent is the fact that the Republican Party needs to change. Our ideas, our messages, our goals are far superior than those being voiced by the opposition. But they are being received in entirely the wrong way. Rather than viewing capitalism as a means for a more prosperous America, it has been turned into a word with a negative connotation that evokes evil thoughts of wide economic inequality in the minds of many young Americans. Rather than our propositions to decrease government reliance being received as faith in the ability of Americans to be resilient, it is seen as an attempt to hurt those who are in need. Everything that the Republicans propose is spun into some convoluted agenda by the opposition to make the Republicans appear as if they simply do not care. So what we must ask ourselves is, how can we regain a position of sheer dominance? How can we convince people that although the media, celebrities, and educators, as an overwhelming majority, might be outspoken Democrats, they are in fact incorrect? The answer, unfortunately, as it always seems to be with politics, is far from simple. Teaching and educating people about conservative beliefs will not simply forge new relationships with people who already consider themselves Democrats. As hard as we try to convert people to seeing the world through our perspective, there will surely be an equal and opposite reaction from a competing party. But fortunately for us, we have one major advantage. All basic economic principles support our basic beliefs. Our goals pay no mind to the color of one's skin or their ethnic background, because an economy focused on free trade is blind to people's appearances. To move closer towards reclaiming political dominance, we must fight courageously, intelligently, and often with any and all opposition. But we must not forget that above all, we shall respect our opponent. This great country was created through compromise, through taking the good with the bad, and sometimes recognizing that even though you did not get everything you wanted, you got what was important. Compromise is about giving and taking. And although this is no excuse to act soft in the face of a political bout, it is a reminder that being stubborn will get this country nowhere. The United States, to me, is the greatest country. It is the only country where I would have wanted to grow up. The only country where I would want to raise a family. And the only country for which I would lay my life on the line. But it's enough with the corrupt practices in Washington. We must leave the pork out of politics. The Republicans can become the party of reasonable compromise, because until we start to implement our policies, the American people will never truly see the never-ending advantages to a free, privatized market. The United States is not the country of handouts. We will strive to ensure that Americans are given the tools they need in order to help themselves. The United States is not the country of redistributing wealth, but rather the natural circulation of wealth through a healthy economy. The United States is not the country of political unrest, but rather we are a nation that can share our opinions to form a better tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to leave this nation to my generation better than it was during yours, and to the next better than it was during mine, and so on and so forth. Rather than striving for diversity based on something as ridiculous as a person's skin pigmentation or their gender, let us strive for diversity based on the content of one's beliefs, diversity of opinion. And let us use the freedom we have to converse to create a more perfect nation. To think that berating and shooting down those who disagree with us will leave our country in something other than shambles is naive. To disrespect our president, regardless of his or her political affiliation, is simply un-American. Our goal as a party should be to lead by example. We are willing to listen to you, so long as you will listen to us. And in the end, logic will prevail. Logic will prevail. Socialism has never worked in the long term, but nobody will be convinced of this if we insist they are wrong, if we degrade them for being caught up in a false sense of beliefs. Rather, we can explain why socialism is wrong in a way that does not feel condescending, and from there we can explain to those individuals who have been wrongfully informed by the mainstream media that in fact a system like capitalism stands for their core beliefs. Little by little, we can create the America that we want to see. I will leave you with one last thought. When I was younger, perhaps in grade 5, I used to ask my father to talk to me about politics. I'd always craved to one day have as much knowledge on the subject as him. On one particular car ride, I asked him how taxes worked. And after some thought, he explained taxation in a way that was so basic, yet so meaningful, that it has stuck with me today. He said to me, imagine you take an exam and you study all night for it, and you receive an A. Now imagine your friend decided not to study for that same exam and receives an F. Rather than each of you receiving the grades you earned, your teacher gives each of you a C. Well, the subject is a bit more complicated than that. The idea is still there. Conservatives cater to basic human nature. What I earn is mine, and I would like to do with it what I choose. If I worked to receive an A, I would be devastated to have that taken from me. But perhaps if my test did not affect my grade either way, I would be willing to take the C so that my friend could pass. This is human nature. Generosity through giving, economic prosperity through spending, and changing the way we act to help the people and causes we care about can all be achieved through a society led by conservative principles. But we must do what we can and act as we must to reclaim America. Let us make it our goal to get this train back on the tracks, little by little. Let us make it our goal to educate the masses respectfully and honestly about the true advantages of conservatism. Let us make it our goal to compromise when we certainly can afford to. Let us make it our goal to make the United States of America our United States of America. Thank you.